Your subconscious doesn't distinguish between reality and imagination. Use this to your advantage. The subconscious mind is a powerful force, yet it lacks one crucial ability. It cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is vividly imagined. This is why a nightmare can cause real fear, why a remembered failure can trigger shame as if it were happening again, and why visualization, when done correctly, can rewire the brain as effectively as real-world experience. The thoughts and images you repeatedly expose yourself to shape your identity, not because they are true, but because your subconscious accepts them as reality. This is why elite athletes and high performers use mental rehearsal to enhance their skills. Olympic competitors don't just train physically, they visualize themselves winning, feeling every movement, every sensation, long before they step onto the track. Studies show that when an athlete imagines themselves practicing a skill with great detail, their brain activates the same neural pathways as if they were physically performing the action. The mind cannot tell the difference, so it strengthens those connections, making success feel natural rather than foreign. But this principle extends beyond sports. Top performers in business, public speaking, and creative fields also use mental conditioning to shape their confidence and capabilities. They mentally rehearse important conversations, imagine themselves handling pressure effortlessly, and condition their minds to expect success rather than fear failure. When the subconscious is repeatedly exposed to an idea, it stops questioning it. It accepts it as a given. Yet this power cuts both ways. Just as the mind can be trained for success, it can also be programmed for failure. If you constantly imagine worst-case scenarios, if you dwell on past mistakes, if you repeatedly tell yourself, "I'm not good enough," your subconscious will believe it. And once it believes something, it finds ways to make it true. It will subtly sabotage efforts, lower confidence, and filter the world in a way that reinforces those negative expectations. In essence, your subconscious is always listening, always absorbing. The question is, what are you feeding it? The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about the importance of shaping one's perceptions, reminding himself that our life is what our thoughts make it. He knew that the mind, when left untrained, falls into patterns of fear and negativity, but when deliberately guided, it becomes an unshakable foundation for resilience and success. So how do you use this to your advantage? The key is deliberate mental conditioning. If your subconscious is always accepting input, take control of what it receives. Visualize success before it happens. Speak to yourself in ways that reinforce capability rather than doubt. Mentally rehearse challenges not as sources of fear, but as opportunities to demonstrate strength. This is not self-deception. It is a strategic rewiring of your mind's expectations. If the subconscious cannot distinguish between reality and imagination, then why not create a mental environment that supports you rather than undermines you? The most successful people do not wait for confidence to arrive. They build it, one thought at a time. Your subconscious is already shaping your life. The question is, are you the one in control of the process, or is it happening to you by default? Affirmations, the right way to talk to your subconscious mind. The way you speak to yourself shapes everything: your confidence, your actions, your success. Yet, most people engage in self-talk that weakens them rather than strengthens them. They repeat phrases like, "I'm not good enough," "I always fail," or "this will never work for me," without realizing that their subconscious is listening, absorbing, and reinforcing those beliefs as truth. The mind believes what it hears repeatedly, not what is necessarily true. This is why affirmations can be a powerful tool, but only if used correctly. Most people misunderstand affirmations. They assume that simply repeating positive phrases like "I am successful" or "I am confident" will magically rewire their subconscious. But the problem is, if your mind does not already believe the statement, it will reject it. If a person who struggles with self-doubt repeats, "I am unstoppable," their subconscious will respond with skepticism, "No, you're not." This is why generic affirmations often fail. They do not align with what the mind already accepts as possible. So how do affirmations actually work? The key is making them believable and progressive. Instead of trying to force the subconscious to accept something it does not yet see as true, start with statements that bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Rather than saying "I am confident" when you feel anything but, say "I am learning to build confidence every day." Instead of "I am wealthy" when struggling financially, try "I am developing the mindset and habits of financially successful people." These statements feel real, which means the subconscious will not reject them. Another crucial factor is emotion. The subconscious does not respond to empty words. It responds to feeling. Repeating an affirmation mechanically does nothing, but saying it with conviction, visualizing it, and experiencing the emotion behind it imprints it on the mind. When affirmations are paired with visualization, seeing yourself succeed, feeling the confidence, experiencing the moment as if it were real, they become exponentially more effective. This is why elite athletes and high performers don't just repeat words. They immerse themselves in the experience of success before it happens. Science supports this approach. Neuroplasticity research shows that the brain rewires itself based on repeated thoughts and experiences. The more you reinforce a belief with both language and emotion, the stronger the neural pathways associated with that belief become. Over time, what once felt forced starts to feel natural, and what once felt impossible becomes automatic. The brain is adaptable, and with the right conditioning, it begins to align reality with the thoughts it is repeatedly exposed to. The Stoics also practiced a form of mental conditioning. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of the principles he wanted to live by, writing affirmations in his personal meditations to reinforce his values. He understood that the mind, when left unchecked, defaults to fear, doubt, and external influence. But when guided intentionally, it becomes the strongest ally in achieving mastery over life. Affirmations, when done correctly, are not about mindless repetition. They are about conscious mental reprogramming. They should be specific, believable, and emotionally charged. They should bridge the gap between who you are now and who you are becoming. And most importantly, they should be practiced consistently. Just as physical strength is built through repetition, mental strength is developed by conditioning the subconscious daily. Your subconscious is always listening. The words you feed it either reinforce limitation or build resilience. So the question is, what story are you telling yourself? Sleep and the subconscious, programming your mind overnight. The mind does not shut down when you sleep. It processes, organizes, and absorbs information, often working harder at night than during the day. While the body rests, the subconscious remains active, reinforcing patterns, replaying experiences, and strengthening whatever thoughts and beliefs were most present before sleep. This is why the last thing you focus on before bed has a profound impact on your mindset, emotions, and even your ability to achieve long-term success. Many people unknowingly program their subconscious with stress, negativity, and worry before they sleep. They scroll through social media, filling their minds with comparison and distraction. They dwell on the frustrations of the day, replaying conflicts and failures. They flood their subconscious with anxious thoughts about tomorrow, allowing fear to settle into their mind overnight. And then, they wonder why they wake up feeling exhausted, unmotivated, or burdened by the same thoughts they had the day before. The Stoics understood the importance of mental preparation before sleep. Marcus Aurelius, in his private meditations, reflected on his thoughts at the end of each day, ensuring that his mind was disciplined rather than chaotic before he rested. He reviewed his actions, questioned his emotions, and reinforced the principles he wanted to live by. This practice was not just philosophical, it was psychological conditioning. By consciously shaping his thoughts before sleep, he influenced the way his subconscious processed experiences, ensuring that his mind worked for him rather than against him overnight. Modern neuroscience supports this ancient wisdom. Studies show that the brain consolidates memories, reinforces neural pathways, and strengthens learned behaviors while sleeping. What you repeatedly think about before bed becomes part of your mental framework. This is why high performers, creative minds, and top athletes deliberately use nighttime programming techniques to shape their subconscious. They engage in mental visualization, replaying their goals, imagining success, and reinforcing confidence before sleep, allowing their brain to process and strengthen these thoughts overnight. One particularly effective technique is the nighttime question method, used by creative geniuses like Thomas Edison and Salvador Dali. The idea is simple. Before sleep, ask yourself a question related to a problem you want to solve, a goal you want to achieve, or a mindset you want to develop. The subconscious, always searching for patterns and solutions, works on the problem while you sleep, often leading to insights or clarity upon waking. Many great ideas, breakthroughs, and artistic inspirations have emerged from this practice, proving that the mind's greatest work often happens in the stillness of the night. Another powerful tool is intentional affirmations before sleep. Unlike generic affirmations repeated throughout the day, these statements take deeper root at night because the subconscious is more receptive in a relaxed state. Instead of replaying worries, one can deliberately repeat beliefs that reinforce confidence, resilience, and clarity. Statements like, "I am capable of handling any challenge," or "My mind is focused and clear," become embedded as the brain processes thoughts during sleep, strengthening self-perception over time. If sleep is a period of subconscious programming, then the inputs before bed determine the outputs of the next day. Instead of allowing stress, distraction, or mindless content to shape your mind overnight, use this time as an opportunity for deliberate mental conditioning. Reflect, visualize, ask powerful questions, and set an intention for your subconscious to work on. Just as the body recovers and strengthens itself during rest, the mind, when directed correctly, can wake up sharper, clearer, and more aligned with success. Your subconscious is always listening. The question is, what are you allowing it to absorb while you sleep? Your environment shapes your subconscious. How to optimize it? Your mind is constantly absorbing information, whether you realize it or not. Every conversation you engage in, every piece of content you consume, every space you spend time in, each element leaves an imprint on your subconscious. The environment you live in, both physically and mentally, is not just a backdrop to your thoughts. It is the raw material from which they are formed. If you do not shape your environment intentionally, it will shape you passively. Many people struggle with negative thinking, self-doubt, or lack of motivation without realizing that their environment is reinforcing these patterns. They surround themselves with people who complain, engage in conversations that drain their energy, or expose themselves to content that fills their minds with fear, outrage, or distraction. Over time, these external influences become internalized. The subconscious, always listening, absorbs these signals and integrates them into its framework. Just as an unhealthy diet weakens the body, an unfiltered mental diet weakens the mind. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He recognized that external influences could corrupt the mind if not carefully filtered. He reminded himself to remain cautious of the people and ideas he surrounded himself with, ensuring that his environment aligned with his values rather than undermining them. His meditations were not just reflections, they were tools to reset his mind, shielding himself from the negativity and distractions of the Roman court. Seneca, too, saw the power of environment, warning that the company one keeps inevitably shapes their thoughts and behaviors. He noted that many people unconsciously adopt the fears, desires, and limitations of those around them. His advice was simple but profound. If you wish to develop a strong, focused mind, surround yourself with those who elevate rather than drain you. He believed that wisdom is not only gained from within, but cultivated through external influences that challenge, inspire, and refine the mind. Epictetus approached this principle with practical wisdom. He taught that while external circumstances cannot always be controlled, one's internal environment, the thoughts, habits, and inputs chosen daily, can always be managed. He urged his students to be selective about what they allowed into their minds, understanding that just as a gardener removes weeds to allow strong plants to grow, one must eliminate toxic influences to cultivate a clear, disciplined mindset. In today's world, this lesson is more relevant than ever. Social media, news cycles, entertainment, and daily conversations are filled with negativity, distractions, and limiting beliefs. If left unchecked, these inputs subtly reprogram the subconscious, reinforcing self-doubt, anxiety, or passivity. People wonder why they feel drained, unmotivated, or stuck, yet rarely examine the environment that is shaping their subconscious thoughts. To take control of your mind, you must take control of what surrounds it. Curate your inputs. Choose content that strengthens rather than weakens. Engage with ideas that expand rather than limit. Be intentional with relationships. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to grow, who speak with clarity, and who bring out the best in you. Design your physical space to reflect focus and purpose. A cluttered, chaotic environment breeds a cluttered, chaotic mind. A space that is intentional fosters clarity. Marcus Aurelius guarded his mind against external corruption. Seneca believed that the people and ideas you engage with determine the quality of your thinking. Epictetus saw mental discipline as a daily practice, shaped not just by thought, but by the environment in which thought develops. The subconscious mind absorbs everything, so the real question is, are you choosing what it absorbs, or are you letting the world decide for you? Core beliefs: how your inner convictions shape your reality. Every person sees the world through a mental filter, one built not from objective truth, but from deeply ingrained beliefs. These core beliefs act as an invisible force, shaping thoughts, emotions, and decisions without conscious awareness. Some people see opportunities where others see obstacles. Some believe they are capable, while others assume failure before even trying. The difference is rarely external circumstances. It is the internal framework through which reality is interpreted. What you believe, whether true or not, determines what you experience. Many people go through life without questioning these beliefs. They assume that their limitations are real, that their fears are justified, that their perception is reality. Yet most core beliefs were not consciously chosen. They were adopted over time, shaped by upbringing, experiences, and societal influence. If someone was told repeatedly as a child that they are not good at math, they internalize that identity, carrying it into adulthood without ever challenging its validity. If someone experiences failure early in life, they may form the belief that they are destined to fail, reinforcing that narrative with every setback. The subconscious does not ask whether a belief is useful. It simply reinforces what it has been conditioned to accept. Marcus Aurelius understood the power of belief in shaping one's experience. He wrote reminders to himself that external events are neutral. It is only the mind that assigns them meaning. A setback is not inherently negative unless one believes it to be. Fear is not an obstacle unless one accepts it as such. He practiced re-examining his thoughts, ensuring that they were not shaped by unconscious assumptions, but by deliberate reasoning. Seneca took this idea further, recognizing that beliefs influence not just perception, but action. He observed that those who believe in their own strength act with confidence, while those who doubt themselves hesitate even when fully capable. He saw that self-imposed limitations were often far stronger than external barriers, that most people are held back not by reality, but by the stories they tell themselves. He encouraged questioning every internal assumption, knowing that an unexamined belief could become a lifelong prison. Epictetus taught that beliefs are not just reflections of the past, they are the architects of the future. He saw that those who accept limiting beliefs live constrained lives, while those who challenge them reshape their reality. He advised his students to be ruthless in questioning their internal narratives, reminding them that thoughts are habits, and habits can be changed. He believed that true freedom begins when a person realizes that their beliefs are a choice, not a fixed destiny. Modern psychology confirms what the Stoics knew centuries ago. Cognitive behavioral therapy is built on the premise that thoughts and beliefs shape emotional and behavioral patterns. Studies show that when individuals challenge and reframe negative beliefs, their experiences change. Those who believe they are capable take more risks, leading to more opportunities. Those who expect failure avoid challenges, reinforcing their doubts. The mind is a self-fulfilling prophecy. What it expects, it seeks to confirm. So how do you change limiting beliefs? The first step is awareness. Identify the beliefs that hold you back. Are they based on fact or conditioning? Are they universal truths or personal assumptions? The second step is exposure. If you believe something is impossible, surround yourself with people who have done it. If you assume you are not good at something, deliberately challenge that assumption through experience. The third step is repetition. Just as beliefs were formed through repetition, they must be reshaped the same way, through consistent reinforcement of a new perspective. Marcus Aurelius trained himself to question his thoughts before accepting them. Seneca saw that belief is the foundation upon which all action is built. Epictetus knew that the mind, if left unexamined, would create limits where none exist. The subconscious does not care what you believe, it simply reinforces it. The real question is, are your beliefs serving you, or are they silently working against you? The power of repetition, how successful people program their minds. Repetition is the foundation of mastery. Every skill, every habit, every belief is built through repeated exposure, reinforcing neural pathways until an action, thought, or mindset becomes second nature. Whether you realize it or not, your subconscious mind is shaped by what you do and think most often. The question is, are you programming it intentionally, or is it being programmed by default? Many people assume that change happens through a single breakthrough moment, a sudden realization that transforms their thinking. But in reality, the mind does not shift overnight. It is molded through consistent repetition. Just as muscles grow through repeated training, mental strength, discipline, and confidence develop through the habits and thoughts that are reinforced daily. The subconscious learns not through logic, but through exposure. What is familiar becomes accepted, and what is repeated becomes automatic. Marcus Aurelius understood the power of repetition. His meditations were not written as philosophical essays for others, but as personal reminders, daily exercises to reinforce clarity, resilience, and reason. He did not rely on inspiration to guide his actions. He trained his mind through repeated reflection, ensuring that the values he wished to embody became instinctual rather than theoretical. By writing, rereading, and reaffirming his beliefs each day, he conditioned his mind to remain steady regardless of external chaos. Seneca saw repetition as a tool for both growth and destruction. He noted that those who constantly feed their minds negativity, worries, complaints, self-doubt, train themselves into a state of weakness. Likewise, those who deliberately reinforce courage, discipline, and perspective strengthen those qualities. He understood that thoughts are like water shaping rock. One drop does little, but repeated over time, it carves deep patterns. This is why he warned against unconscious repetition of harmful thinking and encouraged the deliberate reinforcement of empowering beliefs. Epictetus, always focused on self-discipline, saw that a person does not become strong by thinking about strength. They become strong by practicing it. He taught that waiting for motivation or a perfect moment to act is a mistake. Strength comes from daily effort, from choosing to engage in small, disciplined actions that eventually reshape the mind. He advised his students to train their thoughts as one would train the body, understanding that whatever is repeated consistently, whether fear, doubt, or resilience, becomes ingrained. Modern neuroscience confirms what the Stoics knew centuries ago. Repetition rewires the brain. Studies in neuroplasticity show that neural pathways strengthen with use, meaning that the more a thought, behavior, or response is repeated, the more automatic it becomes. This is why those who repeatedly dwell on failure become fearful of trying, while those who reinforce a growth mindset develop greater confidence over time. Successful people do not wait for positive thinking to happen naturally. They condition their minds through structured repetition. So, how can you use this principle to reshape your subconscious? First, be intentional about what you repeat. If you constantly tell yourself, "I'm not good at this," your mind will ensure that statement remains true. Replace it with small, believable affirmations, such as "I am learning to improve." Second, create rituals that reinforce desired thoughts and behaviors. Whether through journaling, mental visualization, or deliberate action, consistency is key. Third, recognize that small improvements, when compounded daily, create massive change. The mind is not transformed by grand resolutions, but by the repetition of small, disciplined choices. Marcus Aurelius wrote daily to reinforce wisdom. Seneca warned that repeating negative thoughts strengthens them just as much as positive ones. Epictetus taught that discipline, when practiced repeatedly, becomes identity. The mind is shaped by what it encounters most often. The question is not whether repetition works, it always does. The real question is, what are you training your mind to believe? Habits and the subconscious. How small routines shape your identity. People often think that their identity is defined by major life choices, grand achievements, or deep philosophical reflections. But in reality, who you become is determined by the small daily habits that shape your subconscious mind. Your routines, what you do automatically without thinking, dictate your level of success, your mindset, and even your sense of self. The subconscious thrives on repetition, and over time, repeated behaviors become part of your identity. Most people underestimate the power of small habits. They believe that transformation requires drastic change, failing to realize that subtle, consistent actions accumulate into lasting results. A person who consistently chooses discipline over comfort strengthens their self-control. Someone who prioritizes learning each day becomes naturally curious and informed. On the other hand, those who habitually procrastinate reinforce an identity of avoidance. The mind does not judge, it simply adopts what is repeated. Marcus Aurelius understood that character is not shaped by occasional choices, but by daily discipline. He practiced self-reflection each evening, ensuring that his actions aligned with his principles. He knew that even small deviations from virtue, if left unchecked, could grow into habits that weaken the mind. His meditations were not just philosophical exercises, they were habits, repeated practices designed to reinforce the qualities he wished to embody. Seneca recognized that habits dictate the trajectory of life. He noted that people often fall into routines without realizing their long-term consequences. A person who indulges in negativity each day strengthens their tendency toward pessimism. One who regularly practices gratitude builds a resilient mindset. Seneca believed that self-improvement was not about sudden epiphanies, but about small daily choices that compound over time. Epictetus, ever focused on self-discipline, saw habits as the foundation of freedom. He taught that those who do not master their habits become slaves to them, whether it is the habit of reacting emotionally, wasting time, or making excuses. He encouraged his students to be intentional with their daily routines, knowing that small actions, when repeated, define character more than any single decision ever could. Modern psychology confirms what the Stoics knew centuries ago. Research on habit formation and neuroplasticity shows that the brain automates whatever is done repeatedly. If an action is performed consistently, it becomes wired into the subconscious, making it easier to repeat. This is why small improvements made daily lead to profound changes over time. One of the most powerful strategies for shaping identity through habit is the 1% rule. The idea that improving by just 1% each day leads to massive transformation over time. A small act of discipline, when repeated, builds self-control. A single page read daily turns into lifelong knowledge. A tiny shift in thinking, made consistently, reshapes mindset. Change happens not in sudden leaps, but in the invisible accumulation of small actions. So, how do you take control of your subconscious through habit? First, start small. Drastic changes are often unsustainable, but small, consistent actions reinforce lasting transformation. Second, focus on identity-based habits. Instead of saying, "I want to get in shape," say, "I am the type of person who exercises daily." The subconscious responds strongly to identity reinforcement. Third, remove friction. Make good habits easy to start and bad habits harder to maintain. If social media is a distraction, create barriers to access it. If reading is a priority, make books easily available. Marcus Aurelius trained his mind through daily reflection. Seneca warned that routines, if left unchecked, shape destiny. Epictetus saw habits as the silent architects of character. The mind does not change through willpower alone. It is molded by what you repeatedly do. The real question is, are your habits leading you toward the person you want to become? Overcoming resistance. Why your mind fights change and how to bypass it. The mind, by nature, resists change. It is wired to seek comfort, familiarity, and certainty, all of which are threatened by transformation. Every new goal, every attempt to break free from old patterns, triggers a deep, instinctive resistance. This is not a sign of weakness or failure. It is simply the brain's way of protecting itself from the unknown, from discomfort, from anything that threatens the status quo. The challenge, then, is not in avoiding this resistance. It's in learning how to move through it, to bypass it, and to keep pushing forward despite the discomfort it creates. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. In his personal reflections, he frequently reminded himself that discomfort was not to be feared, but embraced. He recognized that change, whether emotional, intellectual, or behavioral, requires effort, and that this effort often feels unnatural. But he also knew that progress can only be made when one steps outside the comfort zone. The Stoic approach is not to avoid pain, but to accept that it is an inherent part of growth. He practiced this daily, reminding himself that the pain of change is temporary, while the benefits of self-mastery last far longer. Seneca, too, saw resistance as a natural barrier to progress, but one that could be overcome through consistent action. He noted that the mind associates change with discomfort and uncertainty, and that these feelings often manifest as fear. Yet, he argued that once we begin to move through that fear, once we take small steps toward transformation, the discomfort fades and is replaced with empowerment. Seneca emphasized the importance of starting. The hardest part is always the beginning, he said. Once the first step is taken, the mind becomes accustomed to the change, and the resistance weakens. Epictetus taught that the key to overcoming resistance is reframing how we perceive it. He believed that much of the difficulty we face in change is rooted in our perceptions of what change means. We often view resistance as something to fight against, a barrier that stops us in our tracks. But Epictetus taught that resistance is not the enemy. It is simply the mind's way of preserving old patterns. Instead of resisting resistance, he advised accepting it and moving through it with patience. By doing so, we develop a tolerance for discomfort and learn that change is not a threat to our well-being, but a necessary part of growth. In today's world, resistance to change is more prevalent than ever. We live in a world of convenience, where instant gratification is at our fingertips, and where the comfort of familiarity often overrides the desire for growth. The brain has become accustomed to avoiding effort and seeking shortcuts, making it more difficult to engage in the deep work required for personal transformation. Yet, this resistance is not insurmountable. It is simply a habit that can be rewired. To overcome resistance, you must first acknowledge it as a natural part of the process. Understand that it is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that something is changing. Once you accept this, you can begin to use resistance as a signal for growth rather than a roadblock. The key is to start small and build momentum, knowing that the initial discomfort will pass. Create rituals that make change easier. Set aside time every day for the work you are avoiding. Break goals into manageable steps and use positive reinforcement to reward progress. Marcus Aurelius embraced discomfort as part of the path to mastery. Seneca knew that the first step was the hardest, but the most important. Epictetus recognized that resistance was not an obstacle, but a sign that progress was happening. Change is never easy, but it is always possible. when we learn to move through resistance rather than against it. The question is not whether resistance will arise. It will. The question is, how will you choose to respond? The law of attraction, why it fails for most people and how to make it work. The idea that your thoughts shape your reality is not new. The law of attraction suggests that what you focus on, you attract. It's a compelling concept. Think positively, visualize success, and the universe will align to bring you what you desire. Yet, despite the widespread popularity of this idea, most people who practice it see little to no results. Why? Because attraction without action is nothing more than wishful thinking. The problem with how most people approach the law of attraction is that they treat it as a passive process. They believe that if they simply think about wealth, confidence, or success, these things will naturally manifest. But Marcus Aurelius understood that thoughts alone are not enough. They must be paired with action. He wrote extensively about how the mind influences perception, but he never advocated waiting for the universe to provide. Instead, he emphasized preparing the mind for action, using visualization not as a replacement for effort, but as a tool to strengthen focus and determination. Seneca, too, saw that people often confuse desire with destiny. He noted that many wish for success, peace, or happiness, but few are willing to do the uncomfortable work required to achieve those things. He believed that the universe does not reward thoughts, it rewards preparedness. To Seneca, the law of attraction was not about sitting back and waiting for fate to deliver. It was about aligning thought with deliberate effort, ensuring that mindset and action moved in the same direction. Epictetus took a more grounded approach. He taught that external events are beyond our control, but how we respond to them shapes our reality. He saw that those who believe they can simply attract what they want without engagement are missing the point. The subconscious plays a crucial role in shaping outcomes, but it responds to repetition, discipline, and behavior, not just positive thinking. If you train yourself to expect opportunity, you will be more likely to notice it. If you reinforce a growth mindset, you will persist where others quit. But these results are not handed out, they are earned. Modern psychology confirms this. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and neuroscience studies show that while thoughts do influence perception, they only lead to transformation when combined with action. The reticular activating system, ERAS, in the brain filters information based on what we focus on, meaning that if we prime our minds for success, we are more likely to recognize opportunities when they appear. But without effort, these opportunities remain just that, possibilities rather than realities. So, how can the law of attraction actually work? First, shift from passive visualization to active mental conditioning. Instead of just imagining success, pair it with concrete plans. If you visualize yourself achieving a goal, ask yourself, what action can I take today to move closer to this reality? Second, align daily habits with desired outcomes. If you want to become a confident speaker, don't just think about it. Practice speaking, even in small ways, every day. Third, reinforce belief through action. The mind accepts what is repeatedly experienced. Confidence, discipline, and success are not just thoughts, they are habits. Marcus Aurelius trained his mind not to expect outcomes, but to prepare for them. Seneca knew that attraction without action was empty. Epictetus believed that change comes from engagement with life, not from waiting for it to unfold perfectly. The law of attraction works only when paired with work. The real formula is simple: focus, act, repeat. The mind is powerful, but only when you give it a reason to be. The universe may not hand you success, but when you align thought with action, you create the conditions for success to find you. The conscious-subconscious connection, using it to your advantage. The mind operates on two levels, the conscious and the subconscious. The conscious mind is what you actively think with. It is logical, analytical, and aware. It makes plans, sets goals, and engages in problem solving. But beneath the surface, the subconscious mind is always at work, shaping your habits, emotions, and automatic reactions. It is vast, powerful, and deeply influential, yet most people never deliberately engage with it. Those who learn to bridge the gap between these two levels of thinking unlock a profound advantage. They become architects of their own mindset, rather than prisoners of old conditioning. One of the most fascinating aspects of the subconscious mind is how it delivers insights when you are not actively searching for them. This is why the best ideas often come when you are relaxed, while taking a shower, going for a walk, or just before falling asleep. The conscious mind, when too focused, can become rigid, blocking creative problem solving. But when the mind is allowed to drift, the subconscious takes over, connecting ideas in unexpected ways. Thomas Edison, Salvador Dali, and even Marcus Aurelius understood this, deliberately using moments of relaxation to allow deeper thoughts to emerge. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the importance of reflection, engaging in deep thought, but also allowing space for clarity to arise naturally. He understood that wisdom does not come from forcing thoughts, but from giving the mind time to process, connect, and interpret information. His nightly meditations were a way to engage both the conscious and subconscious, ensuring that his mind was not just reacting to the day, but actively learning from it. Seneca saw that overloading the mind with excessive worry, distractions, or meaningless concerns weakens its ability to process important information. He believed in mental minimalism, removing unnecessary noise so that the subconscious could work efficiently. He advised that those who constantly fill their minds with trivial distractions, whether gossip, excessive entertainment, or unfiltered media, clog their ability to think deeply. To him, a sharp mind is one that is given space to reflect, observe, and connect ideas without constant interruption. Epictetus viewed self-awareness as the bridge between the conscious and subconscious. He taught that people who act purely on impulse are controlled by unconscious patterns they never question. Those who train themselves to observe their reactions, rather than just experiencing them, gain access to deeper self-mastery. To him, the subconscious does not dictate fate. It simply follows whatever conditioning it receives. If it is shaped by fear and negativity, it reinforces those patterns. But if it is trained through discipline and conscious intent, it becomes an engine for growth, resilience, and wisdom. Modern neuroscience confirms what the Stoics intuitively understood. The default mode network, DMN, in the brain, active during moments of rest, plays a key role in problem-solving, creativity, and emotional regulation. Studies show that stepping away from active thinking, allowing thoughts to settle, engaging in deep reflection, or practicing mindfulness leads to breakthrough insights and clearer decision-making. The subconscious mind is always processing, but it needs the right conditions to work effectively. So, how do you use this connection to your advantage? First, create space for your mind to work. Moments of silence, reflection, and mental stillness allow the subconscious to organize information and present solutions. Second, feed your subconscious the right material. What you read, watch, and engage with daily becomes the raw material for your deeper thoughts. Choose wisely. Third, engage in active self-awareness. Question automatic reactions, notice patterns in your thinking, and be deliberate about the beliefs you reinforce. Marcus Aurelius trained his mind through reflection. Seneca practiced mental discipline to ensure clarity. Epictetus understood that self-awareness is the key to subconscious mastery. Your mind is always working, always shaping the reality you experience. The real question is, are you using this power with intention, or are you letting it operate on autopilot? The choice, as always, is yours. Your subconscious mind is not just a passive background process. It is the silent architect of your reality. It absorbs everything you expose it to, reinforcing habits, shaping beliefs, and guiding decisions long before you consciously realize it. Those who fail to recognize this live on autopilot, reacting to thoughts they never chose, held back by patterns they never questioned. But those who take control of their subconscious gain an extraordinary advantage. They shape their minds with intention, ensuring that their deepest thoughts and instincts work for them, not against them. The Stoics understood that mastery of the mind is the foundation of self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius trained himself to challenge negative perceptions, ensuring that his subconscious did not become a breeding ground for fear or doubt. Seneca saw that daily habits, both mental and physical, determine the course of a person's life. Epictetus believed that true freedom is found not in external circumstances, but in control over one's own thoughts. They knew that if you do not train your mind, the world will train it for you. Your subconscious is already shaping your future. The question is, are you the one programming it, or are you letting random influences dictate your mindset? Success, discipline, confidence, these are not traits people are born with. They are built, conditioned, and reinforced through daily practice. This is not about waiting for the right moment to take control of your subconscious. It's about starting now. Your thoughts, your routines, the way you speak to yourself. All of it matters. Every day, you are either strengthening a mindset that serves you or reinforcing one that limits you. The choice is yours. Train your mind, direct your thoughts, and create the future you want before someone else does it for you.